All right, welcome to week 6. This week we are dealing with the issue of research design. And again, the question of research design is going to basically be conditioned on what you want to find out. Of course, if you're more quantitatively oriented, to me it's interesting. I find that a lot of times uh, quants, people, that's what we call them, are more interested in finding issues to fit to their design than they are finding questions that they want answered about political behavior. That's the whole thing about, just that, which comes first, chicken or egg. For a lot of folks who are truly, bitten by the quantitative bug, it's more interesting to do the statistics than it is to, what the statistics reveal about the political behavior. In this instance, again, I think we want to be a little bit more nuanced about it. We don't necessarily want to focus entirely on sort of the things that quantitative methods enable us to do, because again, in political research, there's a lot of behavior that does not conform easily to quantitative analysis. And so, um, again, and there is some that actually is very interesting. The University of Michigan does a really interesting longitudinal study that they've been doing, I think, for 50, 60 years. It's basically, again, they're just repeatedly picking, random selections of people and doing, surveys on political behavior, just tracking the movement of political behavior. And again, when you're looking at longitudinal kinds of things, that's really deep stuff because, I mean, again, you're trying to track, how does generational change impact people's attitudes? How do dramatic events like 9/11, affect the way Americans view things? I like to talk in my government class about, the fact that one of the great revivals, one of the great religious revivals, of the early, 19th century, 1830s, 1840s, created a really strong movement to get rid of the death penalty. Up until that time, I think people just accepted the death penalty was a normal part of the business of doing politics. I should note there's a really great book by a guy, by University of Tulsa guy. I think he might have been a criminologist, by named Rene Girard. It's called Violence and the Sacred, and sort of the gist of the book is that the death penalty emerged as a way for the state to short circuit blood feuds that oftentimes took place in feudal Europe. That basically this is the state saying, I'm stepping in, I'm killing someone, and thereby ending the feud. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the rationale these days. I certainly think retribution is one of the most powerful impulses that people act on, but whether that's actually, you know, the right rationale is another question. But in any event, research design is very important. There are a lot of different elements to it. I think there's a lot to talk about this week. I hope you guys dig into the chapter and come up with a lot of questions. I really think, for this class, and I think I'm actually going to formalize this when I come back and start working on this shell. I'm going to probably require a certain number of questions for students to ask, and not just, what do they say on page 4? That's not helpful. What I'm looking for are critical questions where you're genuinely demonstrating that you're looking at this material and you're struggling with it and trying to understand how different ways of measuring, behavior helps us, develop evidence in support of why we should conclude, that you know, changes in variable X cause changes in variable Y. That people getting a college education means that they're more likely to vote, or things like that. So we just have the form and the quiz this week. So let's make sure we do our work, and let's have a good time this week. Let's cover a lot of material and do a good job.